She was just an alien guard. Then she fell for a human prisoner. Soraya was not supposed to feel anything. Not anger, not fear, and definitely not love. She was trained for one purpose only, to obey the Empire and guard the prisoners who dared to defy it. Her people believed humans were dangerous, wild creatures that didn't deserve kindness. But something changed the day she was assigned to Cell 17. Cell 17 was cold and quiet. Inside it sat a human male, his wrists bound, his face bruised. His name was Eli. He didn't look up when she walked by. He just sat there, breathing slowly, his eyes closed. Soraya glanced at him, curious. He wasn't like the other humans she had seen, those who screamed, begged, or cursed. This one was calm, almost peaceful. The other guards warned her. "Don't look him in the eyes," one said. "He's a manipulator," another whispered. But Soraya was different. She didn't believe everything she was told. Every day, she passed by his cell during patrol. And every day, she stole a glance. At first, Eli didn't speak, but on the 5th day, he looked up. "You have kind eyes," he said softly. Soraya froze. No one had ever said that to her, not even her own kind. She quickly turned away, her heart beating faster than it should. Later that night, she told herself to forget it. It was just a trick. Humans were known to lie. But the next day, when she brought him his dry ration cube, she placed it gently on the tray. He gave her a small smile. Not a fake one, a real one. "Thank you," he said. Soraya walked away without a word, but something inside her shifted. Was he really dangerous? Or was he just alone? Days turned into weeks. She started slowing her walk past his cell. Sometimes she asked him questions, small ones. "Where are you from? What is Earth like? Why did you fight the Empire?" Eli never answered with anger. Instead, he told her stories about blue skies, soft rain, and music that could make your soul dance. He spoke of books, laughter, and how humans love deeply, even when it hurts. Soraya listened, and each time she left his cell, her mind was full of thoughts she had never dared to think before. One night, a storm rocked the prison ship. Systems failed. The lights flickered. Alarms echoed. The guards panicked, shouting over each other. In the chaos, Soraya ran toward Cell 17. She didn't know why. When she reached him, Eli was sitting calmly, holding a small cut on his arm. Without thinking, Soraya unlocked the door. She stepped in and tore a piece of cloth from her own uniform to bandage him. "Why are you doing this?" Eli asked, watching her closely. Soraya didn't answer. She just tied the cloth around his arm, her hands trembling. "They'll punish you," he whispered. "If they find out, they'll hurt you." "I know," she said quietly, "but I don't care." She looked into his eyes, and for the first time, she saw something more than pain. She saw understanding, connection, warmth. Before she could step back, the overhead cameras flashed red. They had been activated again. Her heart sank. Outside the cell, footsteps approached, heavy and fast. Soraya stood, trying to lock the door again, but it was too late. 4 guards appeared, weapons drawn. They dragged her out, shouting, "Traitor, human lover." Eli screamed her name, but they silenced him with an electric baton. Soraya didn't fight. She didn't cry. She only looked back once, through bruised eyes, and smiled. Because even if she was about to be punished, for one brief moment, she had felt something real. And she would never forget it. Beaten in front of the crowd, but she didn't cry. They dragged her through the steel halls like she was trash. Soraya didn't resist. Her hands were bound, her feet scraped the cold floor, and blood from a fresh wound on her lip ran slowly down her chin. Her armor had been stripped from her body, replaced with a thin prisoner's cloth. Her once proud posture was now slumped, not from fear, but from sorrow. Guards shouted at her as they passed. "Filth! Betrayer! Disgrace to your species!" But Soraya kept her eyes forward, searching for something, or someone. And then she saw him. Eli. He was on his knees, chained outside his cell, eyes wide with shock and pain. His face was pale, but his voice was steady. "Leave her alone," he yelled. "She did nothing wrong." A guard hit him across the face. Silence, human. Soraya turned her face toward him. Even through her pain, even as blood dripped onto the floor, she gave him a look. Not of regret, not of fear, but of peace. Eli stared back, breathless. And in that moment, they both knew this wasn't the end. They'd brought her into the central courtyard of the prison ship. It was a massive open space, surrounded by 3 levels of cells. Prisoners of all kinds watched from above. Alien species from across the galaxy, locked behind thick glass. Today, they were not locked away. Today, they were invited to watch. The commander's voice echoed across the chamber. "This is what happens," he roared, "to those who betray the Empire." From behind a tall steel gate, 4 armored enforcers stepped out. Each one carried a baton pulsing with electricity. They circled Soraya like wolves. She stood tall. She didn't beg. She didn't plead. She didn't ask for mercy. Instead, she whispered, "I would do it again." The first strike came fast. The baton slammed into her back, sending a jolt through her spine. She stumbled forward, but didn't fall. The second came to her ribs. A sickening crack echoed. She winced, but stayed on her feet. The crowd began to murmur. Why wasn't she screaming? Why wasn't she begging? They hit her again. And again. Blood splattered onto the floor. Her knees finally buckled. She collapsed, but her eyes never left the sky above, as if she was staring at a star only she could see. A low growl came from the prisoner levels. Someone was angry. Then another voice shouted. And another. "This is wrong. Stop this." She helped him. She helped him. The prisoners had seen cruelty before, but this was different. This wasn't justice. It was vengeance. But the commander didn't care. He raised his hand to signal the final blow. The largest enforcer stepped forward, holding a weapon designed to stop even the most powerful alien warriors. As he raised it over her head, a scream pierced the silence. Enough. Everyone turned. It was Eli. Still bloody, still chained, but now standing. And beside him, something unexpected. A young alien boy. Soraya had saved that boy months ago during a fire in the lower decks. No one had spoken of it. No one had thanked her. But now he stood beside Eli with a small device in his hand. A recorder. "I have it all," the boy said, trembling. The truth. Her kindness. How she saved me. How she saved him. The commander froze. The enforcers hesitated. And for a second, the crowd went silent. Soraya, still kneeling, slowly lifted her head. Her face was a mask of pain, but her voice was steady. "You may break my body," she said, "but not my truth." The commander ordered her taken away, locked deep below, where no one could see her. But it was too late. Something had started, and it could not be stopped. As Soraya was dragged back through the corridor, her head resting against her shoulder, she heard something that gave her strength. A chant. From the prisoners. From the humans. From the other species. She loved. She stood. She is one of us. For the first time in years, the Empire feared one of its own. They locked her in his cell, thinking it was a curse. The guards thought they were being clever. After her public punishment, after the chants from the prisoners, after the commander's face turned red with rage, he made a new order. "Put her in with the human," he growled. "Let her rot with the creature she betrayed us for." They didn't give her medical attention. They didn't speak to her. They just dragged her broken body down a metal corridor and opened cell 17. Eli rushed forward, his chains clinking. "Stop. She's hurt," he shouted. But they didn't care. They shoved her inside and slammed the doors shut. The lock clicked. Then silence. Soraya lay still on the floor. Her arms were cut. Her lips were swollen. Her uniform soaked in dried blood. But her chest still moved, slow, shaky breaths. Ely dropped beside her. His hands trembled as he touched her face. "Soraya, please, stay with me." Her eyes opened slowly. "You're here," she whispered. He laughed, but his voice cracked. "Yeah, we're both trapped now." "Good," she said, and passed out in his arms. For hours, Ely did what he could. He tore strips from his own blanket, used water from the tiny sink to clean her wounds, whispered to her while she slept. He didn't know if she would wake again. But when the lights flickered into night mode and everything turned dim blue, Soraya stirred. "They think this is punishment," she said quietly, still lying on the ground. "What do you mean?" Ely asked, confused. "They think locking me in here with you is a curse," she answered, turning her head slowly to face him. "But it's not. It's peace." For a long moment, they just stared at each other. "How bad is it?" she asked. "Your ribs are broken," Ely said. "Maybe more," she coughed. The pain hit hard, but she didn't cry. "Worth it," she said. "No, it's not," Ely said sharply. "You didn't deserve this." Soraya smiled weakly. "I deserved truth, and I found it." That night, they talked. Not about escape, not about pain, but about dreams. Soraya shared stories from her childhood, how she once wanted to be a pilot, to fly through nebulae, to explore stars no one had seen. Ely told her about a garden on Earth where his mother used to take him, a place with real trees and wind that smelled like flowers. They laughed softly. They cried quietly. And in that tiny cell, something deeper than love began to form. The next morning, the command center reviewed the cell footage. A junior officer stared at the screen. "They're talking," he said, smiling. "They're supposed to be miserable," another muttered. "Look at them," the commander barked. "Do they look broken to you?" The silence in the room was heavy. "Then it's time to break them for real." Back in cell 17, something strange happened. Ely leaned against the wall, Soraya lying beside him, her head resting on his shoulder. Suddenly, they heard a faint sound, a hum, like a machine turning on behind the walls. "You hear that?" Soraya asked. Ely nodded. "It's coming from behind us." They both turned. In the far corner of the cell, behind a thin metal grate, a panel shifted slightly. Soraya crawled to it, groaning in pain. With effort, she pulled the grate off and gasped. "Ely, there's a tunnel. A tunnel. Maintenance shaft. Old. Not on the maps anymore." She looked at him, heart racing. "This is our chance." "No," Ely said firmly. "You're too hurt." "We don't have time," she whispered. "They'll try something worse." He hesitated, then nodded. Together, they pulled the grate wider. The shaft was narrow, only enough for one to crawl through at a time. Soraya pointed. "You go first. Find where it leads. I'll follow once I can move better." "I'm not leaving you behind," Ely said. "You won't," she replied. "We're in this together." They paused, shared one last look, and then slowly Ely disappeared into the darkness of the tunnel. Soraya leaned back, breathing hard. Her body ached, her vision blurred, but she smiled, because for the first time since her birth, she wasn't afraid. But just as peace settled in, the cell lights turned red. Gas hissed from vents above. Soraya's eyes widened. "Ely, they know." But Ely was already too far into the tunnel to hear. Guards were coming, and she had to choose: run now or protect the tunnel with her life. A secret escape route, but only one can fit. The gas filled the cell fast. Thick, choking, sharp like acid. Soraya covered her mouth with both hands and crawled toward the tunnel opening. Her whole body screamed in pain, But she moved like her life depended on it. Because it did. Inside the narrow tunnel, Eli had gone a few meters in. He heard the gas hiss behind him. He stopped. "Zariah," he shouted, voice echoing through the tight shaft. "Keep going," she coughed, voice weak. "Don't stop." But Eli didn't listen. He turned around and crawled back. "What are you doing?" she cried. "I'm not leaving you," he shouted, eyes wide with panic. The tunnel was so narrow that only one person could pass at a time. No turning around. No crawling side by side. When he reached her, she was trying to push herself inside. Blood ran down her back from the beatings. Her breathing was shallow. "You need to go," Eli said. "You'll die if you stay." "So will you?" Zariah whispered. They stared at each other. The gas was getting thicker. Their eyes burned. Their throats ached. Suddenly, boots pounded down the hallway outside the cell. Voices barked orders. Metal clanked. They were coming. Zariah reached out and grabbed Eli's wrist. "Listen to me," she said. "This tunnel, it's your way out. I'm not leaving you behind," he said again, almost begging. "You think I saved you just to watch you die?" She snapped, a flicker of fire in her voice. Eli stared at her. "But what if?" "No," she said. "No more what if. No more waiting. You go. Now." He looked at the tunnel, then back at her. His hands shook. Finally, he nodded. But he didn't just crawl away. He took her hand, held it against his face, and whispered, "I'll come back for you." Zariah smiled, tears slipping from the corners of her eyes. "You better." Eli turned and disappeared into the tunnel. Seconds later, the outer cell door opened with a loud slam. Guards rushed in, guns raised. Zariah turned her back to the tunnel, blocking it with her body. "Where's the human?" one of them growled. She didn't answer. They aimed their weapons. "You have one chance," another said. "Tell us." Zariah stood tall, blood dripping from her fingers. "You think love is weakness," she said, "but it's stronger than fear." They shot her. Once. Twice. She fell. But she never moved from that spot, blocking the entrance with her body, sealing Eli's escape with her pain. Deep inside the maintenance shaft, Eli heard the shots. He stopped crawling. His heart pounded. But he didn't cry. Not yet. He crawled faster, pushing through heat, darkness, and dust. The tunnel twisted and dropped into a wider space. After what felt like forever, he reached a broken metal door. He kicked it open and tumbled into an old storage bay. Lights blinked weakly. No guards. Just silence. And freedom. But he didn't feel free. He fell to his knees and whispered, "She did it. She saved me." His hands closed into fists. "Now I save her." Back in the cell, Zariah's body was still. Guards stepped closer to check. But before they could grab her, the cell lights suddenly went black. An alarm screamed. "Emergency power failure," a robotic voice said. "Internal sabotage detected." The guards looked at each other, confused. Then the door behind them locked with a heavy click. From the shadows, a small figure emerged. It was the same alien boy from before, the one Zariah had saved from a fire. He pressed a button on a stolen device. "She saved me," he said quietly, standing over her body. "Now it's my turn." And behind him, more shadows moved. Not guards, not enemies, but prisoners. And they were ready to rise. She runs through fire for him. Literally. The fire wasn't just in the halls. It was in her lungs, in her ribs, in every broken bone she refused to let define her. Zariah wasn't supposed to be breathing. She had been shot. Twice. Left to die like garbage on the cold cell floor. But something inside her refused to give in. The pain was there, sharp and cruel. But so was the memory of Eli's eyes, the way he had whispered, "I'll come back for you." And so she rose, slow, shaking, bloody, but alive. The guards were gone, locked outside by the young alien boy. She didn't know how long she had. Maybe minutes, maybe seconds. The prison ship was in chaos. Sirens screamed. Doors jammed. Walls shook. A prisoner uprising had begun, small at first, one hallway, then another, like fire moving through dry leaves. But Soraya didn't care about the rebellion. She cared about one thing: finding Eli. Eli sprinted through the old cargo decks, breathing hard. The path through the tunnel had led him here, a forgotten part of the ship, half collapsed and barely lit. His thoughts burned as bright as the fires breaking out across the levels. Was Soraya alive? Did she buy him enough time? And how was he supposed to escape now? Suddenly, a figure stepped out of the shadows, tall, armored, holding a blaster. Not a guard. A bounty hunter. He had arrived early. Human prisoner, the bounty hunter growled. Contract says dead or alive. Eli backed up slowly. Look, I'm not worth anything. They'll lie to you. I don't care, the bounty hunter said, raising the weapon. Eli braced himself, but before the shot could fire, a scream cut through the air. Not of fear, of fury. And out of the smoke, Soraya appeared, limping, burned, bleeding, but eyes blazing like stars. She ran straight into the fire, literally, through a burst pipe spewing flames, across a floor glowing red with heat. Her boots melted, her skin blistered, but she didn't stop. The bounty hunter turned too late. Soraya slammed into him like a falling comet, knocking the blaster away. They fought, her fists fueled by pain and love and rage. He was stronger, taller, trained, but she was a woman with nothing left to lose, and those are the most dangerous kind. She ducked a swing, grabbed a metal pipe, and drove it into the hunter's side. He screamed, dropped, rolled. But before he could recover, Eli grabbed the blaster from the floor and pointed it at the hunter. "Don't move," Eli said. The bounty hunter, groaning, raised both hands. Soraya turned to Eli, breathing like a machine. "We don't have much time," she said. "You're hurt," he whispered. "We both are," she replied. "But we're not broken." They ran together now, through smoke, through alarms, past prisoners breaking free, past guards screaming for backup. The prison ship was falling apart. Chaos was winning. And still, they ran. Soraya's body screamed for rest, but her mind whispered, "Keep going." At last, they reached the hangar. The doors were open. Fire burned along the walls. Several escape pods had been launched. Only one remained. But a squad of guards blocked the way. They hadn't seen Soraya and Eli yet. Eli looked at her. "We can't win that fight," he said. "Then we don't fight," she replied. She reached into her belt and pulled out a small device, the emergency beacon she had stolen years ago from the command post. Never used, never tracked. Until now. "What's that?" Eli asked. "A distraction," she said. "Hold on to me." She pressed the button. Instantly, every screen on the ship flickered. A message appeared across the walls, across the guards' helmets, across every interface. Truth can't be silenced. And then, images of Soraya saving prisoners, helping the injured, refusing to kill a child, giving water to Eli, protecting him, bleeding for him. Every crime they hid, now public. The guards paused, uncertain. Eli pulled Soraya forward. They ran, past the confusion, past the fire, to the pod. As they entered, a voice screamed behind them. "Stop them." A shot fired. It grazed Soraya's shoulder. She fell inside. Eli slammed the door shut, hit the launch button. The pod burst away from the ship just as an explosion rocked the hangar. Inside the pod, the silence was deafening. Eli cradled her head, whispering her name. Soraya coughed. "We made it," she said. He kissed her forehead. "You ran through fire for me," he said, eyes full of tears. "I'd do it again," she whispered, 1,000 times. Behind them, the prison ship burned. Ahead, stars waited. But this wasn't the end. Someone still wanted them dead. And far across the galaxy, a voice had just said, "Bring me the traitor and her human. Alive. They think they're safe, but the Empire is still watching." For the first time in weeks, there was quiet. The escape pod had landed on a forgotten moon. No guards, no sirens, no fire. Just sky. A soft purple sky, filled with stars, and silence that felt like peace. Eli stepped out of the pod first. He helped Soraya down gently. Her wounds were healing slowly. Her steps were shaky, but she was alive. They found shelter in an old structure nearby, half buried in dirt and vines. It used to be a smuggler's hideout, abandoned long ago. Inside, it was dusty but safe. Solar panels still worked. Water filtered clean. And for a moment, they could breathe. Days passed. Soraya sat under the open roof at night, staring at the stars. Eli would sit beside her, holding her hand. "Do you think they'll come?" he asked once. "They always come," she said. But her voice had no fear in it now. Only truth. They worked together. Eli fixed the old comm dish. Soraya set traps around the hideout in case anyone found them. She trained again, slow movements, regaining her strength. Her body was still healing, but her mind was sharper than ever. They cooked together. They laughed. Sometimes they cried. One evening, Eli gave her a small flower he found near the rocks. "It reminded me of you," he said. "Tough, growing in a place it shouldn't." Soraya smiled. "I've never been compared to a flower before." "Then they didn't know you," he said. "But peace is never safe for long." It started with a strange sound from the comm unit. A soft beep, then static, then a whisper. "Code 9 bits, subject located." Eli froze. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. Soraya ran to the panel. Someone had traced the emergency beacon she triggered back on the prison ship. They were not alone. That night, she stood outside, staring at the sky again. This time, her hand was on her weapon. Eli walked up behind her. "We should leave." "We don't have a ship," she said. "We'll build one," he replied. "Or steal one." Soraya turned slowly. "If they come, they won't just try to take us," she said. "They'll burn this whole moon to the ground." "Then we fight," he said. She stared at him, surprised. Not because of what he said, but how certain he was. Eli, the quiet prisoner, now ready for war. A few hours later, the ground shook. Not from wind, from engines. They both ran to the lookout ridge. 6 black ships circled the moon. No markings, no lights, just shadows in motion. "Reapers," Soraya whispered. "What are they?" "Silent hunters. They don't capture. They erase." Eli grabbed her hand. "We need to move. Now." They raced back to the hideout. Soraya opened a panel under the floor, a hidden tunnel used by smugglers. They packed what they could and disappeared underground. Above them, the moon lit up with fire. The Empire had arrived. Down below, in the dark, Eli's voice echoed. "Where does this tunnel lead?" "To the canyon," Soraya said. "There's a chance we'll find a transport there, if we're lucky. And if we're not, then we make them wish they'd never followed us." Meanwhile, on the lead Reaper ship, a figure watched them on a screen. A tall alien with silver eyes. Not a commander, not a soldier, but Soraya's older sister, a general of the Empire. "She fell for a human," the general said. "She broke our laws. She broke our name." An officer nodded. "Orders." The general didn't blink. "Bring her to me. Alive. And the human." She paused. "He dies in front of her. Make her watch." Deep in the tunnels, Soraya suddenly stopped. She pressed her hand against the wall. Her fingers trembled. "What is it?" Ely asked. "She's here," Zariah whispered. "My sister." "How do you know?" "I feel it." The past was coming, and it would not be kind. But this time, Zariah wouldn't run. This time, she would stand. And she would fight for love. Even if it meant facing her own blood. She was shot protecting him. But her heart never let go. The tunnel opened into night. A canyon stretched out before them, wide and deep, with sharp cliffs and echoing winds. Beneath the moonlight, shadows moved between rocks. Ships circled overhead. Searchlights scanned the ground like hungry eyes. Zariah crouched beside Eli. "We have minutes," she whispered. Eli nodded. "Just tell me what to do." She looked at him. This human, this quiet, patient, broken soul, was now ready to fight for her. They moved fast. Every footstep had to be silent. Every breath had to be small. But the deeper they went into the canyon, the more they knew. They were being hunted. Up on the ridge, the general stood still. She watched them from afar. Her silver eyes didn't blink. "Hold position," she told her soldiers. "I will handle this myself." Down in the canyon, Zariah found the old transport ship, half buried in dust. Rusted. Forgotten. "Can we fly it?" Ely asked. Zariah touched the controls. "Maybe, if we power it from the backup coil." Eli climbed inside, searching for parts. Zariah worked outside, rerouting cables. Every second counted. Then, a voice echoed through the canyon. "Zariah." She froze, slowly turned, and saw her sister walking alone toward her. No armor, no guards, just quiet rage. "You betrayed our blood," the general said. "No," Zariah replied. "I found my truth. With a human." Her sister spat. "With the same species that killed our father." Zariah's jaw tightened. "Not all of them are monsters," she said. "This one gave me more than our empire ever did." The general pulled a long blade from her belt. "Then let's see what he gives you when you're dead." And she charged. Eli heard the commotion. He rushed outside. Zariah was already fighting. Blade against blade. Sparks flew with each strike. The two sisters danced across the rock, fast and violent. Old wounds exploded between them. Childhood jealousy, betrayal, pain. But Zariah was different now. Stronger. Not just in skill, but in purpose. "You want to kill me," she said between strikes, "because I chose love." "I want to kill you," her sister snarled, "because you made me weak." Their blades locked. Then, a shot rang out. Eli had found a blaster inside the ship. He aimed at the general. "Back away," he shouted. But she moved fast. She threw her blade. Zariah turned just in time. And it hit her. Not Eli. Her. The blade sank into her side. Deep. Cruel. She fell to her knees. "No," Eli screamed, running to her. He caught her before she hit the ground. Blood soaked her uniform. The general walked closer. "You should have stayed loyal." But before she could strike again, Zariah looked up and smiled. "You made a mistake." "What?" "You left your back open." The trap exploded. Zariah had activated one of her hidden charges, the same kind used by old rebels. A fireball swallowed the cliff edge. The general was thrown backward. Guards above scrambled. Alarms blared. And in the chaos, Eli lifted Zariah in his arms and ran. Inside the ship, he slammed the door shut. Zariah coughed. Her blood stained his shirt. "Stay with me," he whispered. She touched his face. "You have to fly," she said. "Not without you," he begged. "You have to live," she said softly. "I made my choice. Now make yours." He shook his head, tears falling. "I won't leave you." She smiled, weak but full of fire. "Then take me home." Eli fired up the ship. Engines roared. Dust flew. The ship lifted, but Soraya's body was fading. Her breath came slow, soft, then still. The ship broke through the sky, into the stars. Eli held her hand the whole way. Weeks passed. News spread. A human and a rebel alien had escaped the Empire's grasp. Rumors said they were dead. Others said they survived and started a movement. No one knew for sure, until one day a signal reached a hidden outpost. A voice. Eli's. She gave everything to protect love. Now I fight for what she believed in, and I know she's still with me, because my heart still hears her. In a garden far away, on a new world, flowers grew. Blue, strong, wild, just like the one he gave her, just like her. And when the wind blew, you could almost hear her whisper, "I'm still here."